You've spent your life caring for others. Maybe you raised a family, kept a home, worked hard, and showed up for everyone who needed you. You gave and gave, because that's who you are. And now, in this quieter chapter of life, maybe you're asking a new kind of question. What do I really need? What brings me peace? What makes this season of life feel meaningful? Today, we are going to talk about two ideas that may help you feel lighter in your home, your mind, and your heart. They're called minimalism and simple living. Now, don't worry. This isn't about getting rid of all your things or living in an empty house, and it's certainly not about following some trendy lifestyle. It's about something deeper. It's about making room for joy, for rest, for relationships, and for the kind of beauty that can only come when life slows down. Whether you're a grandmother, a widow, or simply a woman starting a new season, this video is for you. Because you deserve to feel peace in your space and purpose in your days. So let's take a slow, thoughtful look at minimalism and simple living and discover what they can offer you right now, exactly where you are. 1. What is minimalism? Let's start with minimalism. Now, when some people hear that word, they picture stark white walls, no furniture, and tossing out every keepsake. But real minimalism, the kind that can actually bring peace to your life, isn't extreme. It's not cold or rigid. And it definitely doesn't mean erasing the things you love. At its heart, minimalism is about asking a very gentle question. What can I let go of so I can live more freely? Maybe that means clearing out a kitchen drawer full of things you haven't touched in 10 years. Or letting go of clothes that no longer fit your life or your body. But it can also mean releasing emotional clutter, old habits, past regrets, or the need to say yes to every invitation when your heart says no. Minimalism invites us to create space, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And that space, it's where rest lives. It's where your favorite book waits. It's where your grandchild's laughter echoes. Minimalism doesn't ask you to give up comfort or joy. In fact, it helps you protect those things. When you clear away what you no longer need, what matters most comes forward, and you begin to see it more clearly. Maybe it's your favorite coffee mug, the one you reach for every morning. Maybe it's the quiet chair by the window where you feel at peace. Or maybe it's just the sweet feeling of having less to manage. One woman I spoke to told me, "I'm not a minimalist, but I am tired of managing things I don't care about anymore." And that's really it. Minimalism doesn't have to be a label. It can just be a shift, a decision to carry less, so you can feel more. If you've ever looked around your home and felt overwhelmed, not by mess, but by too much, minimalism might be a gentle path toward peace. And remember, it's not a race. You don't need to empty your house in a day. You can start with just one drawer, one shelf, one decision to make space for the life you want to live now. Because this chapter of your life, it's not about hustle, it's about harmony. 2. What is simple living? While minimalism is about creating space by letting go, simple living is about what you do with that space. It's about asking yourself a new question. What do I want to make room for? Simple living is not about having less. It's about living more intentionally. It invites you to slow down, to listen to your own rhythm instead of the rush of the world around you. It's about choosing your pace, your priorities, and your peace. Maybe that means waking up a little earlier to enjoy the morning quiet before the world gets busy. Maybe it's taking time to cook a slow meal from scratch, just because you enjoy the smell of onions in the pan or the feeling of dough beneath your hands. Maybe it's sitting in your garden with a warm cup of tea, watching the birds without a phone in your hand. Simple living means making space for what matters to you, not what someone else thinks you should be doing, owning, or chasing. It could mean turning off the television and turning on music that soothes you. It might look like writing letters to old friends, planting herbs on your windowsill, or spending an afternoon flipping through photo albums. Not because you have to, but because it fills your spirit. Simple living isn't about perfection. In fact, it often embraces the imperfect. A hand-mended quilt, a chipped mug that still warms your hands, a slow walk around the block where you greet every neighbor you meet. This lifestyle values presence over productivity. It's about showing up fully for the little things, a conversation with your daughter, the breeze through an open window, the joy of being unhurried. Because when we rush, we miss things. And at this stage of life, those little things might just be the best parts. One woman once told me, "I'm done chasing busy. Now I chase meaning." That, to me, is the spirit of simple living. It's not about doing less. It's about doing what matters, more slowly, more lovingly, more consciously. And if you've felt disconnected, scattered, or tired of the noise, this may be your invitation. Not to start over, but to start fresh. With fewer demands, more moments, and a deep appreciation for the life you're living, right here and now. 3. Minimalism versus simple living, side by side. Let's begin with your home. In a minimalist home, the focus is on clear spaces. You might see open countertops, soft neutral colors, and very little clutter. There's an intentional calmness to it. Fewer decorations, fewer pieces of furniture, just what's needed, and nothing more. The goal is to create space that feels restful and light, easy to clean, and easy to be in. Now, simple living also values a calm home, but in a different way. A simple living home might not be as visually spare. It might feel a little cozier, maybe a bit more lived in. The quilts on the couch may be handmade. There might be books stacked on the coffee table, or a pie cooling on the stove. It may not be Pinterest perfect, but it's rich in meaning and warmth. In a simple home, you see life happening, slowly, purposefully, and with care. Neither way is better than the other. It just depends on what makes you feel grounded. Some women feel calm in a quiet, tidy space. Others feel most at home in a place that tells stories, holds memories, and wraps them in comfort. Let's talk about your closet. A minimalist wardrobe usually means a smaller one, maybe just a few favorite outfits, chosen carefully, comfortable, high quality, and versatile. It's about simplicity. You know what you'll wear. You don't spend much time deciding, and everything you keep is something you truly like and actually use. Simple living, on the other hand, may not focus on how many clothes you have, but how you treat them. You might still keep that worn cardigan your husband once complimented you in, or mend a blouse instead of tossing it. You care less about trends, more about stories. Every piece might not match, but each one holds value because of how it makes you feel or what it reminds you of. Next, let's move to the kitchen. Minimalist cooking is usually about simplicity, fewer ingredients, fewer tools. One good knife, one pot, a meal that's nourishing but not complicated. It's practical, efficient, and leaves less mess behind. Simple living in the kitchen leans into slowness. You might take your time preparing a stew on a Sunday afternoon. You may bake from scratch, not because it's quicker, but because you enjoy the process. You grow herbs in a pot on the windowsill. You care where your food comes from. And sometimes, the joy is just in feeding people you love, not in being perfect. Now think about your time. Minimalism treats time a bit like it treats space. It clears it out. A minimalist schedule is focused, clean, and efficient. You do less, but you do it well. There are fewer appointments, fewer obligations. You guard your energy, and you say no when something doesn't align with what you need. Simple living doesn't just clear the calendar, it fills the day with intention. It might mean waking up slowly, taking a walk without a destination, letting the weather, your body, or even your mood guide your pace. You might journal after breakfast, nap in the afternoon, garden when the sun feels right. It's about listening to the rhythm of life, not controlling it. And here's something beautiful. You don't have to choose between the two. You can blend them in a way that suits you. Maybe your kitchen is minimalist, but your garden is full of wildflowers. Maybe your wardrobe is simple living, worn, patched, and loved. But your schedule is neat and minimalist. There's no rule book. There's only what feels peaceful. One woman I spoke to said, "I started with minimalism because I was overwhelmed by all the stuff. But over time, what I really craved was a slower life, less rushing, more meaning." That's exactly how these two ideas work together. Minimalism helps you remove the noise. Simple living helps you fill that quiet with joy. One clears the space. The other teaches you how to live inside it. So think of it this way. If minimalism is about asking, "What can I live without?" then simple living is about asking, "What do I want to live for?" 4. Which one is right for you? You might be wondering, do I have to choose one? Should I be a minimalist? Or should I try simple living? The honest answer is this. You don't have to choose anything except what brings you peace. There is no right way to live more simply. No one-size-fits-all solution. And truthfully, your needs and desires, they're going to shift with time. Just like the seasons of your life have always shifted. You might start your journey into minimalism by decluttering your home, letting go of clothes you haven't worn in years, or donating kitchen gadgets you never really used. And at first, that space might feel like a breath of fresh air. But then, as the weeks or months go by, you might notice something else. You want to slow down, not just clean out. You want to spend more time outside or with your grandchildren, or working on a hobby you once loved but had forgotten. That's when simple living begins to speak to you. It says, now that you've made space, how do you want to live in it? The truth is, your version of a peaceful life is going to look different from mine, and that's perfectly okay. If you're someone who feels stressed by clutter and chaos, minimalism might be where you begin. It's structured, clear, and gives your eyes and mind a place to rest. For many women, especially those who have spent decades managing a household, this kind of visual and mental quiet can feel like a deep exhale. But if you're already living more slowly, and your heart longs for connection and purpose, then simple living might be your natural path. It's about choosing what matters, whether that's handmade over store-bought, writing a letter instead of sending a text, or baking bread not because it's efficient, but because it's comforting. And for many of us, it's not either or. It's a dance between the two. Some days, we need the calm clarity of minimalism. Other days, we need the soul-deep satisfaction of a slow walk and a cup of tea. Let your life reflect the rhythm that feels right for you, not what's trendy, not what someone online says you should do, not what fits in a perfect little box. And also, let yourself change. You may be in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. That doesn't mean you're stuck in your ways. In fact, this stage of life is often the perfect time for a gentle shift. You may have more freedom now, fewer demands, a quieter house, maybe even more curiosity about what truly matters to you. One woman told me, "I always thought I was too old to change how I lived. But when I let go of the things I didn't need, not just the stuff, but the guilt, the busyness, the pressure, I finally felt like I came home to myself." That is what this journey is about. It's not about labels. It's not about counting how many things you own. It's not about having the coziest kitchen or the most minimalist closet. It's about finding your center, your calm, your joy, and doing it in a way that honors everything you've lived through and everything that still lies ahead. So maybe today, just ask yourself 2 small questions. First, what feels heavy in my life? And second, What would feel lighter? Your answers don't have to be big. Maybe it's clearing off the dining table. Maybe it's taking 1 hour this week to do something you love. Maybe it's saying no to an invitation, so you can say yes to rest. Whatever it is, let it be yours. Let it be gentle, and let it be a beginning. 5. A true story. A moment of heart. Her name is Evelyn. She's 78 years old. She lives in a quiet neighborhood with maple trees that turn the sidewalk gold in October. The kind of neighborhood where people wave from their porches and still bring over banana bread when someone isn't feeling well. Evelyn has silver hair she pins up every morning, a warm smile that arrives slowly, and hands that have held babies, garden tools, and hospital bed sheets. She spent her life in service to her family, her church, her community. She was the kind of woman who always showed up. For decades, her house was full of life, of noise, of other people's needs. But now, the house is full of something else. Quiet and stuff. After her husband passed away, Evelyn did what many women do. She didn't change anything. His slippers stayed under the bed. His hat still hung on the hook by the door. The drawer beside the sink still held his pocket knife, spare keys, and old notes he'd written on scrap paper. She said to me, "I wasn't ready to let him go, so I didn't. I kept it all." And for a while that made sense. The memories lived in those things, in the spaces they once shared, in the places his hands had touched. But time has a way of asking us to look again. Months turned into a year, then 2, and Evelyn found herself moving less, eating less, speaking less. She would sit in her living room, surrounded by furniture and books and keepsakes, all things that told stories of a beautiful life, and still feel lonely, disconnected. One day, she stood in the hallway and looked at the coat closet. Inside were 6 winter coats. 4 belonged to her husband. 2 no longer fit her. She said it out loud, as if hearing it for the first time. "I only have one body. Why do I have 6 coats?" That question stayed with her. The next morning, Evelyn opened that closet again. She gently folded the coats she no longer wore. She placed her husband's old jacket in a box, not to forget him, but to honor that part of their life. She kept one, the one he wore the day they went apple picking for their anniversary, the one that still smelled faintly like pine and autumn. That one she kept. Then she moved on, not in a rush, but in rhythm. One drawer, one shelf, one small corner of the home at a time. The china cabinet with glassware she hadn't touched in 20 years. The linen closet packed with mismatched towels. The garage with its jars of rusted nails and tools she no longer used. She told me, "It felt like I was digging myself out from under a life I didn't need to carry anymore." But the beauty wasn't just in what she let go of. It was in what she found underneath. Evelyn began to reclaim her space, not as a shrine to the past, but as a sanctuary for the present. She put a chair by the sunniest window and began sitting there every morning with her tea. She planted flowers by the mailbox again, marigolds, just like her mother used to. She began to journal, short entries at first, then poems, then stories from her childhood that she wanted to pass down to her grandkids. She even started baking again, just small things, muffins, biscuits. She laughed as she told me, "I forgot how much I like butter and warm hands in dough." She didn't do it to be productive. She did it because in the quiet she had made, she finally heard what her soul had been whispering for years. "I miss myself." That's the thing no one tells you about letting go. It's not about loss. It's about returning to who you really are, to what still matters, to the woman who has been there all along, beneath the layers of responsibility, grief, and history. Evelyn isn't chasing labels. She's not trying to be minimalist or anything else. She just wants to feel at peace in her own home, to live lightly, to love deeply, to be present in her own story, not just a curator of the past. And now? Her house doesn't feel empty. It feels open, airy, alive, because there's room to breathe, to move, to laugh, to change. She told me with tears in her eyes and a smile on her lips, "I thought I was making space in my home, but it turns out I was making space in my heart." So maybe you too are carrying more than you need. Maybe your home is filled with things that once mattered deeply and now just ask to be released. Not because the love is gone, but because love, when honored, can evolve. It can take the shape of a new morning routine, a handwritten note, or a quiet moment of stillness. You're not letting go of your life. You're making space to live it, fully, gently, freely. Just like Evelyn. So here we are, you and me, after all this time spent talking about less stuff, less noise, less pressure. But I hope what you've heard, more than anything, is that this isn't really about less at all. It's about more space to breathe, more room to move, more peace in your days, and more meaning in the moments you choose to keep. Maybe you see yourself in the stories today. Maybe you've been holding on to things because they once brought comfort, and now they simply take up space. Or maybe you're just craving something quieter, something more soul-filled, a life where you feel present instead of pulled in every direction. Whether you lean toward minimalism or simple living, or your version is something in between, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be finished tomorrow. You don't need a complete plan. You just need one honest question. What am I ready to release? And what do I want to welcome in? Maybe you start with a drawer. Maybe you sit quietly with a cup of tea and listen to what your heart is ready to say. Maybe you call a friend. Maybe you take a nap. That's the beauty of this journey. It belongs to you and no one else. There is no timeline, no rulebook, just a gentle return to what matters most. Because you are not defined by the items in your home. You are defined by your spirit, your kindness, your wisdom, your presence. And it's never too late to create a life that feels good for you. So, if this message spoke to your heart today, I invite you to take one small step. Not a big one, just something simple and true. You can share in the comments. What part of this video resonated with you most? What is one thing you're ready to let go of, or one thing you want to make space for? I would truly love to hear from you. And if you know someone, a sister, a friend, a neighbor, who's feeling overwhelmed by all the too much in life, maybe send this video to her, not as advice, but as an offering, a reminder that she is not alone, because you're not alone either. This space, this channel, Wise Elders Insight, is here for you, not just to give you ideas, but to walk beside you, gently, respectfully, with heart. Thank you for spending your time with me today. It's been an honor. Take good care of yourself. You are worthy of a life that feels light and full all at once. And I'll see you in the next video.